CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.
Hello, my name is Masego Madzwamuse. I am the host of the Adoye podcast series, season 2, that is part of our 2026 gathering, which is held in partnership with the Nawi Collective and the Center of African Philanthropy and Social Investment under the Adoye program. And we're bringing together a group of fabulous women, Pan-African feminists, 30 women who have come together for this writing retreat. And we are curating a space that recognizes writing as political work, storytelling as a site of healing, and community as essential to sustaining feminist thought and creativity on the continent. And through the podcast, you'll get to hear about the incredible work that the individuals who are part and who are participating in this year's retreat are involved in. Hello, welcome to the Adoye podcast series, where we bring together a group of fabulous African women who are part of the African Women's Writers Circle. And today I'm in conversation with Cindy, who is going to introduce herself shortly. My name is Masego Madzwamuse. Cindy, welcome to the podcast. May I invite you to introduce yourself by telling us who you are and whose you are.
Hi, Masego. Thank you for having me. I'm Cindy Ross. I'm an attorney by profession. I don't really like calling myself that because I think I'm just someone that's trying to make things better for Africa. And I think that is born out of frustration of seeing how much has gone wrong. And whose I am is, I think for me it's very simple. I'm a child of God, and I'd like to think I mirror the side of Jesus that fights for social justice. So like I said, for me it's very simple. It's just a human trying to make sure that Africa goes the way it's supposed to go.
Yes. That's such a fascinating combination where you bring in religion to the work that you do. And I would like to go into it a little bit more. Because from the conversations I've had with you, it was fascinating to hear you talk about how you infuse the principles of social justice into the work that you do around governance and ethics. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I think where it was born for me is a lot of people think of ethics and activism as this big thing that's left for your Steve Bikos and Winnie Mandelas, and not realizing that all of us actually are activists in our normal day. And for me, a lot of the work I'm doing is just trying to bring it back to what we know. And as activists, we do know, or Africans, we know religion. I think what saddens me is the colonized version of religion actually distorts that Christianity or God comes, or Jesus comes from Africa. And that has been distorted, so people can't see the link between it. So what I'm trying to do is just to make it, just to normalize it and dumb it down to the basic activities that we do every day, because how I found out about social justice was in church. It's the way my church dealt with things, the way my mother dealt with things. It's not out of books and things. My first constitution came from a neighbor. So it's really just to make people understand that it's a small acts that we do each day that contributes to the bigger thing. And I think fundamentally, I think my fear is as well, we face so much corruption and leadership corruption that it's almost taken away the hope that Africa has. And what I'm trying to do with my writing is just to bring the hope back and to say, actually, it's very simple. All we need to do is love each other and love our continent. It's that trivial, it's that simple, and we'll be okay.
Yeah. We'll come to the writing shortly. And just to stay with the work that you're doing, and you mentioned the word activism. And I still would like to get a sense of what that looks like, who you work with, what spaces do we find you in, what conversations are you having with who?
Okay. So I'm a part-time lecturer at Wits, so I lecture on governance and ethics, so deal a lot with your executives and your boardroom. So activism, I feel, does have a place in the boardroom, and there why it has a place is that's actually where decisions are made. So if we speak up for others and we fight for what is right in the boardroom, it has an impact further down into the company. I also sit on a few boards. So I have NGO boards in climate. I chair a board called Project 90, where we trying to do work and helping young people to inform policy around climate change on behalf of disenfranchised communities. I also sit with Rape Crisis SA because I feel gender-based violence in South Africa is a major issue, so we offer counseling services. So I wear many different hats, and then on the other end, I sit on a board where for Mine Workers Investment Company, where we the trust that owns the union, National Union of Mine Workers. So on that side, I wear fighting hats.
Yes.
And I fight for labor rights. So I wear very different hats. And like I said, I've seen people struggle with ethics and making the right decisions and dealing with corruption and how it feels like this overwhelming thing. And when I'm always asked, where do you get your ethics from? That is why when I brought religion in, I said, actually from church.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
That is my benchmark for ethics, and helping people find what is your benchmark
Yeah.
for ethical decisions. It's not this big thing that we can't achieve.
Yeah, yeah. And as you were describing that, I could just visualize somebody watering roots that then, the message carries into different spaces and different forms. A form of mass mobilization and like being in spaces where ideas can gain traction quickly.
Yes, no, definitely.
That's fascinating. You are already a writer. You write already. What was it that compelled you to lean into the invitation to join the African Women's Writers Circle and come to the retreat?
So personally, I actually don't see myself as a writer. Because I'm a lawyer, I tend to write opinions. And it doesn't always translate well with people because it's very heavy and technical. And I think I came in extremely intimidated. I remember the first day I got, I told Pato, I don't think I'm right for it because I can't write creatively. And I think it was the challenge of also challenging myself to write differently, to find a different medium to soften what it is so that the everyday person understands. Because I think when you're throwing legislation and all of that, it becomes overwhelming to see yourself. It's almost like when you're thinking of Winnie Mandela, none of us see ourselves as in someone such great because you're like, she's there and then you here. So it was really to get the technical skills to soften the way I write so that it's palatable for the everyday person. And that skill was not there.
I like that. And a lot of people had that kind of reaction. Why me? I'm not a writer. And what you're saying about the ability of writing techniques and the language being an enabler to get the ideas into the spaces that we work on a daily, and breaking down the technical language is actually part of the objective of bringing the space together, right? Because a lot of people are activists, they are in advocacy, but the people that you really want to win and to bring around is the social change agents that don't necessarily sit in the silos that we tend to operate in. And what has been the process been like for you? Has there been an aha moment?
I think I had a few, because like I said, I came in with preconceived ideas, very defensive as well, and I come generally from spaces where I have to defend myself. So I have to show up in a certain way as a woman of color. So first few days, I kept thinking, why are these people so nice? Something must be wrong. And I remember it was Pato that just pulled me to the side the one day to say, there's no other sugar that's going to drop, you're safe. And I think struggling with that was one of my aha moments, that actually there's places that are safe. We don't always have to be scared. And then I think it's over the first weekend, really just softening and falling in, building actual genuine connections. And it's been nice. I think for me, it's been healing in a lot of regards. It's opened up a very different way of how I write. The article I wrote, now I actually finished yesterday. I'm very proud. Is very different to what I would generally have written. And I think for me, fundamentally, what I take away is that I now have a group of sisters that not only understand activism and the space, but it's also just that safe space to say, actually, there's a place where I can go where it's okay. And I can just be and I can breathe. And it was just how I was received. I think the entire 2 weeks, we were received with so much grace that I'm not used to. So that I think was my aha moment, is actually you can just be in spaces. And like I said, for one of my sisters, recognizing and actually articulating that actually there's no shoe that's going to drop. You're okay.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear that.
Yeah. You're in a space where you are with core dreamers. It's safe. If there's one place, this is the one place where you don't need to be in the fight mode. And that's the reality of it, that in the works that we do, for many of us, it's constantly the fight and flight mode that gets in the way of creative thinking, ideation, and sitting with our thoughts, sitting with our ideas, and encouraging to hear that you finally had that breakthrough and you're writing an article. What's the article on?
So the article I've just finished was based on just showing how activism is a form of love. So starting off with my mom, who would never call herself an activist, she was a community nurse. But I remember distinctively as a child, we always used to host refugees. We always had some victim of abuse that was housed. And then there was, I think it was around 2013, we had this major xenophobic attacks. And my mom taking me in the car, going into the community, removing people, no matter what the danger was, because her thing was just, these are my patients, I need to get them out. And she would not call herself an activist, but she was really my first example of it's a responsibility to help other people. It's not a luxury. And having an actual politician for a neighbor who, again, was one of those very critical in the struggle, you would not hear her name anywhere spoken. And I think there's many stories like that. And it's bringing those stories together to show ordinary people that it's a small acts of just making sure your neighbor's child has clothes or they're fed when you can't feed them, that really encompasses in making a community better, because that's where I got my voice. I come from a poor community. That's when I started realizing actually it's the small things, it's not the big things that you do that matters. And now I can teach other people. So it's really just an article saying activism is a responsibility, it's a form of love, and it's a form of love to your country, and more so because we've become these people that are always out in the streets angry. And my thing is, you can also fight from a point of love to say, actually, it's because I love my country that I'm fighting, not because I'm upset someone stole money or got a tender, and that I'm fighting. So that's what the article deals with.
You're tapping into agency that individuals have, but also the responsibility to the collective and community. What I like about the work you do and how you approach it is also leading with solutions. And I'm wondering, in this article that you're working on, or just drawing from the examples of work that you've been doing, what it looks like to ask the questions and also stick around to be part of the solutions finding.
So I think for me as a person, I don't like complaining without solutions. And I've also feel that politicians have gotten us in a space where we're frustrated. So we're always voicing our frustrations, but never giving solutions. So you're stuck in this cycle. So it does, the article, by way of examples of what people have done, does give solutions. There is a small bit, but I think the article more questions, how can I look at myself and how can I inform at least my surroundings. I'm not saying we must go global with challenges, but it really just asks the questions based on the examples that are given. How do I inform a better community, a better country, and how do I bring myself and see that it's a responsibility for me to step in and not look for some savior to fix it. So that's really what the article does. in a lot of the other work that I do, like with young people, so forth, it's also teaching them, yes, it's okay to voice frustrations, but also bring solution. And also understand that you also have to sacrifice. You can't expect others to sacrifice, but want to enjoy the benefit. So that, I hope that is the message that I do get out, is that you can't always wait for someone else to make the sacrifice, but be very willing to benefit of that sacrifice.
Great, that's really fascinating. I want to go back to where you started when I asked you who are you and whose you are, and you talk about the ethos and the principles of your work being anchored in religion and Christianity and the teachings of Jesus, right, and on social justice. How did that come about?
So I think initially I wouldn't have had the words. I just understood that within church, you give back, you have this charity, there's people, if someone voices that their home has been burned, the church will come together. So it's those principles that we come from a poor community, but the church understood that we all look after each other.
Yes.
And that has been ingrained from the church. And then as I started writing, really realizing that Jesus was an activist. He came, he gave up himself. He didn't volunteer one of his disciples.
And he was African.
Yes, and he was African as well. He's from the diaspora. And that crucifixion at the time was also only there for political prisoners and stuff. If you got a cross, it was actually an act of showing that he went against the then system at the time. So just looking and mirroring that he had all of the principles that a normal activist would have. But I think what a lot of us as activists forget is when the noise comes, we forget the mission and that it's in service, and we start lauding ourselves as heroes. And he never did that. And I think that is why I mirror myself against that he remained in service until the day he was crucified. He never became arrogant. He never told anyone, you know who I am. I'm the child of God. And I think that is what I don't want to lose, because in activism I see it a lot, that the minute the noise comes, we forget why we're there. And it now becomes that, I'm this hero, and I never want to do that. I think that is also where our politicians have gone wrong. We forgot that we're in service of the country. And it's more that the country must now laud you. And it's really, that's why I'm trying to bring in Jesus as the speaker. I'm not quoting scripture, it's not a theological piece, because it won't resonate with someone that doesn't believe in Jesus, but really just saying, here's an example of someone that sacrificed himself. He was always with the poor. He could have come and been a king and then come from that point. He chose to come as someone that really moved among those who were destitute, who were poor, and fought for those people. And yes, the world has a lot of pain, but he's always articulated that we have a responsibility to make sure those in pain, those that are suffering, that we take care. If we have means, we must take care. So I think that is why I bring in religion. It's really those small things that you saw in church that brought in me that it's a responsibility, like I said, from examples of my mom as a community nurse, taking on that responsibility. So it was nothing major. I think the Steve Bikos and stuff looked very far removed, that we never achieved that. So
And for you, that leadership came from community, it came from service, it's from your family, it's from the home as you grow up. The work of social justice, the space of activism, is not always smooth. And it can be lonely, it can be frustrating, disheartening sometimes. What do you do to fill your cup?
So I think I always did a very bad job at that. I was one of those that fought and then I was completely drained, and I would go through these periods of heavy depression. And now how I fill my cup is I spend a lot of time fasting and praying. And so again, Jesus at the center of how, but I've learned to do Pilates. I've also learned to be, this week I learned the word self-ful.
To do what?
To be self-ful. So really just self-care, self-ful.
Self-ful, self-care, self-ful. Wow.
So I do take the time.
What is self-ful?
It's really just being selfish with your time and yourself. And it's okay. Because I think as Black women, we're taught it's not okay. You must always be looking after everyone, taking care of everyone. So it's really understanding when to pull back. And I think that's why I appreciated the space that I had isolated completely. So I only come out when I work and then isolate. And really understanding that there are safe spaces is really putting yourself out there and finding those pockets of people that not only understand what you're going through, but can also hold you through those processes. So yeah, that has it been for me. And I love nature and hiking. So I think that I also enjoyed about the 2 weeks. We were really out in nature, seeing animals. So
Yes. Yeah. And being with a community of sisters who share vision. Not just the pain and the struggles. There's been a lot of space
and
for
the passion.
joy.
Yes. There's a lot of passion and a lot of joy. So it was very new space.
Yes, yeah. The evening reading sessions, the music,
and the dancing,
the walks, the dancing, the singing, the ululating.
And like I said, when was it we went out walking and dancing in the rain? When last had I done that? And it was really nice. So I think it's been a healing process. And also, I think for me, this 2 weeks made me realize don't always be so serious. Sometimes just go run out in the rain.
Live. We are human. We do the work, but we also live, and we must thrive. That's
and sometimes it's okay to just have joy.
Yes. Yeah. So what are you looking forward to as we go into the rest of the year?
I think this 2 weeks gave me the confidence to write about my opinions, because I think part of my fears was who would read, who would take, because I write for very small spaces. It would be some private blog or on LinkedIn, so I've never really publicized anything. And just taking on the challenge to say, actually, let me get my opinion out. What I was writing down today was what I want to write about next is the sexualization of female activists. Because I feel that wherever there's been a woman of color, there must always be a story and gossip attached without proof. And to trivialize the impact of your work, and that is what I want to write about next is just the trivialization via that process of the actual impact of the work that we do. So I'm very curious.
The morality police.
Yes. And they're always there with us, but never with the men. So to write about that, and I think it's just give myself room to actually say the opinion is needed, because I always thought nobody would listen and read.
Oh, Cindy, your ideas matter. And I look forward to reading what you're going to be writing next. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Masego.
This is Cindy Ross, and I'm Masego Madzwamuse, and this is the Adoye podcast series, but brought to you courtesy of Nawi Collective and the Center of African Philanthropy Studies at the Wits University. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Cindy. Thank you.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.